Jordan didn't get a lot of it, throws in that game, but how'd you feel like that offense executed, the starting offense?
I thought they did a good job. I mean, he had 3 throwaways, so he was really 5 for 7 in the football game. I thought we executed. I thought there were a few times where we took negatives. I mean, that we went back to our old ways a little bit. But the positive was we overcame them on third down conversions. But when you face a good football team, having to convert a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 13, you're not going to be very successful surviving in those molds. So I thought those guys did a good job overcoming the shortcomings there in the first 2 drives. And after those first 2 drives, I thought we got into a rhythm and we got rolling, and I thought we did a phenomenal job.
Front left, Brendan.
Kenny, I was wondering if you could talk about the downfield blocking that occurred throughout the game, wide receivers, running back. There's one play where Jay Sean runs from about the line of scrimmage to go block for Keyshawn. Just that level of effort, is that what's required regularly for you guys?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, I believe that was asked in here, what we were looking for, and that was it, the effort, right? When you play football's not very difficult. If you own the ball, if you don't get penalties, if you just do your job and you play harder than the opponent, you're going to win a lot of games. Just those things. And a lot of those things don't take any talent. And, we struggled doing a lot of those things early in the year. And you've noticed, a trend in an upward direction in those categories, and then you have success. I mean, like I said, it's not a secret. We put the goals up on the board for a reason, and we achieved every one of our goals this week. First time we've done that since we've been here, and you see what happens.
Chris, front left.
How did Chuba Purdy do with handling in-game experience compared to last year when he was kind of thrown in the fire?
Completely different person. Last year he shows up and it's like, hey, true freshman that has no practice, you're starting. That's literally it. I mean, you had a week and a half of practice, you got hurt, and then you come back and you're playing a game on the road. So this year he was out there, we had RPOs called, we had a run game check for him, and we didn't change the offense at all. He went out there and we said we wanted to play football with him at quarterback, and he let us down, and he made the right decisions. I mean, there was a couple plays in there that are probably half dozen in one, half dozen in the other, and my half dozen were in the other, and his half dozen were in his. And we want to just get on the same page there. But for the most part, I mean, that guy went out there and he was calm. And that's what you look for when you look for a quarterback. You look for, are they calm or are they panicked when things happen? And you could see a calmness about him that was not there last year when he played.
Front right, Andre.
Coach, when you look at Clemson defensively and, just the balance they have and the challenge that you guys are facing, just that defensive front especially, can you talk about just like what would you feel is their biggest strength? Why are they as good as they are overall? Yeah, their biggest strength is they have really good players. That would be a strength for sure, is their talent level is high. I mean, there's a reason they're a top 5 offense in the country, and then they got one of the best defensive coordinators and the best defensive staffs in the country that have been there. It's hard on defense specifically to be new, right? But when you have a defense that has been there for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years, and you're in that system, that's all those defensive guys know. So it allows their defensive coordinator to be extremely aggressive. It allows him to be different in every single game. You're not going to put on the game and say, oh, this is what Clemson does defensively. You're going to say, holy cow, every week they have a specific plan for who they play. And that is not how most defenses play. Most defenses have an identity of who they are. Their identity is they're going to get after you. How they do that is going to be based off of who you are, and it's going to be completely different every week. And it's a testament to the ability to establish their program, recruit the players they wanted to recruit, and then be able to keep the same system there so those players could have a mastery of the system. And that's why they're one of the top defenses in the country, is you get to combine all that stuff into one, and it's a pretty good meal.
Middle right, Ira.
And then following up on Chuba, how pleased were you with that whole younger group? I mean, the fact that they were able to execute drives and put the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleased, and just as much about that is you get into a live setting, and I talked about it last week, but I challenged the guys, right? Can we not get a pre-snap penalty? Just one game, right? And you put those young guys in, and you're making checks. And their defensive line was still shifting. And the fact that their D-line would make a move call, and we didn't jump off sides. The fact that we would make a check, and we didn't panic. Those are the things that you want to see the young guys go in and execute. And those are the things that we did go in there, and we did execute. And we didn't take those negatives. We didn't get penalties. They just went out there and they ran the offense, and they were calm, cool, and collective. And that's what you want when you see young guys on the field. You want to see who panics and who doesn't have that sense of panic when they're in the football game. Who just says, okay, I know what I'm doing. Let's go play. So I was really pleased with how our young guys played.
Brendan?
Something that Mike and Chubba both talked about on Saturday after the game was this conversation with McKenzie to go ahead and let younger quarterbacks get reps. I guess how did that conversation go from your vantage point, and what kind of role has McKenzie had on? I know you've talked highly about the role he's had in the quarterback room. I think we're all kind of seeing that. What has he done for that position group?
Yeah, well, I spoke to McKenzie obviously before just throughout the week in terms of what he wants and what he's looking for in terms of the rest of the year, and because he's a competitor. He wants to be on the field. Let me tell you, that dude wants to compete, but he also wants to win. And when he talked about wanting to let those guys get an opportunity if the opportunity came about, that's what he wanted. He wanted to see those guys succeed, and that's just a testament to the person he is and what he's about, and what he's done for the QB room is, he's just shown up and been himself. He's not out there trying to be coach. He's not out there trying to be mentor. He's just going out there and being McKenzie Milton. And I've said it before, but he's got a unique and special aura about himself that whether he is the starting quarterback or whether he's not on the field, people are going to gravitate to him. People are going to learn and listen to him because of everything he's accomplished in college football, and he deserves that. The fact that he's battled back, had that success, battled back, and gotten to the position he is right now, he deserves all that success, and I'm glad we have him because our guys are learning a lot from him.
Andre?
In light of everything you said about the Clemson defense, obviously this can apply to any defense, but in particular with them, how Mike talked about the importance of when you have that window to hit a big play, how important that's been, for teams. You've seen it, other teams have been able to do that this year, but for their team, going into this matchup, just how important that's going to be for you.
That's critical. When you face a good defense, one of the things that make them really good is they tackle well. I mean, if you watch the film, they don't miss tackles. It sounds like a fundamental and boring, but you get on the free safety at 9 yards deep and you gain 9 yards. Some teams you get on the free safety at 9 yards deep and you score. Clemson, you get on the safety at 9 yards deep and it's a 9-yard gain. And you got to do that 7 more times. And that's not easy to do versus a good team. So when we get those opportunities to win those one-on-ones, we've got to win some. Whether that's the passing game or the running game, we've got to make people miss, and we have to be explosive because they're an opportunistic defense as well. And because they're so aggressive, you're not just going to be able to methodically move the ball down the field because they're going to get you at a point. He's a good coach. He's going to call something that attacks. And if you're not as explosive offensively as he is defensively, you're going to find yourself behind the chains a lot. So you've got to be able to match that aggressiveness with your own aggressiveness and create those explosive plays.
Corey?
Kenny, as a play caller, how challenging is it? You talked about Venables will go from week to week. It's hard to pigeonhole what they're trying to do. Have they played an offense kind of like yours that's whatever it is, 13th in the country in rushing and has such a mobile quarterback? And can you take something from that? How do you plan for a defense that's always changing?
I think it goes back to do what you do. I think you can't get as caught up. Everybody knows if you watch us play, we'll be in 13 and 3-back. Then we're in spread one game. Then we're in quads another game. We're very similar to what he is defensively, offensively. We pretty much change every week in terms of what we look like, pretty drastically. And so I think it's kind of the game within the game in terms of what we believe he's going to do to stop us based off of all the prior tape we have, based off what you said. Is it a team that ran the ball well? Is it a team that is a shot team? Is it a team that throws perimeter screens? Is it a team that has a quarterback that's mobile, right? Taking all those pieces, and then you have to combine that with the defensive personnel, who they have. Are they going to be 4 down or 3 down? Well, who's playing for them? Who's not playing for them? Who's available? So there's so many variables that go in to putting that, what do we think this multiple defensive coordinator is going to do? And you've got to create a plan that has a coverall. right, to prevent the negatives, because everything that they do is based off creating the negative. It's about being explosive defensively. If you can remove the explosive plays defensively, you can stay in good down and distances and you can move the ball. So what can we do to prevent their explosive plays and try to create our own? That's what we're looking for.
Ira?
Obviously, Clemson's a different level defense, different venue, but do you think you guys can take much from being able to execute on the road at North Carolina the way you guys did? I mean, offensively?
I think it definitely breeds some confidence that, our guys know we're capable. They know that when we got 11 dudes doing the right thing, when we stay in good down and distances, when we own the football, we can be pretty good, right? But at the same token, we also know if we don't do those things, we can be really bad. And that's what I told them in the meeting yesterday. And I do believe that confidence of going on the road and executing that is a positive. But I do think it's going to be, that was a rainy game where, it was a sellout crowd that didn't end up being a sellout crowd, right? The capacity was probably 60% when we were there. This is going to be the first time really since we've been here, we've gone on the road in a hostile environment where it's loud as get out, right? And we're going to have to do a phenomenal job communicating, right? All being on the same page in a loud, hostile environment. I think this is going to be the first time we're really tested in terms of how disciplined we can be.
Aswan, back right.
I think they've won 6 straight conference titles. They won 2 national titles over that sort of span. The things that happened last year with the cancellation of the game, some of the comments Dabo Sweeney made about this program. As a competitor, are you allowed to keep that stuff in the back of your mind during preparation, or is that stuff that you guys don't want to
I don't care. I just want to go be the very best we can be. And you're like, oh, that's not true. Well, it is. Like, we're trying to be the very best version of ourselves we can possibly be. And Coach talks about it all the time, and sometimes when you hear things over and over again, right, you just kind of, when somebody tells you clean your room 97 times, you're like, oh, yeah, I know, clean my room, right? Whatever that looks like. You kind of hear things over and over again, and it becomes boring. Well, that's how losers think. Winners wake up and they say, okay, I want to be the best version of myself. Well, let me live it. Because it's really easy just to hear it, and let it go by. And that was what I challenged the offense with yesterday after practice. I said, you hear Coach say it every day. Just be the best day you've ever had. The best day you've ever had. You hear it over and over again. But do you wake up and do you say, I'm going to make this the best day I've ever had, and just get better, and just get better, and just get better, and just get better. And that is our goal. And that's our goal every single day we wake up in this program is just get better. Get a little bit better at something, whatever it is.
Brendan, front left.
In this past month, I think you guys are leading the country in rushing yards or yards per carry.
Cool.
What are you doing particularly well, and what has changed, I guess, to go from good in that area to really, really good at it at this point?
Well, we got some of our guys back and healthy, and the O-line has battled through some injuries. And then obviously Jordan back there posing that threat is obviously a dynamic player in that position. And we're staying in situations where we can run the football. Early in the season, 2nd and 25 is not really a rundown, right, for most teams. Well, we're not getting those penalties anymore. We're staying in good situations. We're not taking negatives, so it's allowing us to run the football more. And then when you combine that with, getting our guys healthy and that we had the prepared going into the season, that's what I felt like we should have looked like. And if you look back at our offenses dating back to Memphis and all the way back, we're going to run the ball, and we're going to run the ball well. That's a staple of what we do, right? And it's good that it's finally, I didn't know that stat. I'm not much of like a, national stat guy. I just try to, see what we can do to be better. So that's good, though. It's cool. I'm going to put it out in recruiting, right? Hear that? Number 1 running back place in America.
Front right, Carson.
You talked about discipline. I don't have in front of me, I guess, the breakdown of offensive versus defensive penalties, but I know as a team it's 4 straight weeks of 5 or less. I guess how encouraged have you been by the growth there? It seems like it was pretty suddenly a pretty drastic improvement.
Yeah, losing sucks. And when you realize that if you jump off sides and get penalties over and over again, you're not going to win. And, we can say the refs out there made the difference. No, our guys realize if you want to win, you got to play discipline. It's that simple. They're fed up with it. Jordan Travis says in his interview all the time, we were fed up. They're fed up with playing that style of football, and they made a decision to make a change. They made a change, and It's not a change we made, it's a change they made. They made as a football team, they made as players, and we had one penalty. It was for an illegal offensive pass interference on a rub concept designed, and we got to do a little bit better job coaching just the release path so we don't get that called again. But that's a small fundamental that we got to improve on. It wasn't really, in my mind, a bad penalty. It was a coachable penalty, which are different. So it's been a real positive for us.
LT kind of looked like the old LT. Maybe I don't know if it's been there all year, but he hasn't get the opportunities. But how good is that seeing? Can he be a factor? I know you guys have other really good running backs, but can he be more of a factor in the second half of the season?
I definitely think so. I mean, he had a little nagging stuff earlier in the year, but he's so explosive that you want to get those explosive playmakers the football. So I definitely think that's a guy who could have an elevated role as the towards the end of the year, and that's a guy who is a playmaker and is dynamic with the ball. We just got to find ways to get him the football in those explosive positions.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank y'all.